Hello and welcome back to the Data Privacy Lawyer. It's Funmi, the principal attorney at the law firm, talking. Today's review, we're going to be looking at BMW. We're going to be looking at their cookies. This is the first instance of me landing on this site. We have some cookie modification and details. We've got accept, selected, reject, or accept all. In the following paragraph, you'll learn more about the purposes for which cookies are used. For anybody that's brand new to the channel, we basically look at public-facing privacy documentation to understand what an organization may need to do in order to comply with the data protection laws. And that could come in the form of a cookie notice, privacy notice, artificial intelligence notice. Anytime an organization interacts with or processes personal data, we'll be taking a look at their public-facing documentation on how they represent themselves to their consumers as it pertains to the personal data they obtain. Okay. So we've got here analytics and marketing cookies. The reason I checked this button is because currently analytics and marketing cookies are allowed. The reason I've been opted in is because I'm in the United States. In other geographies, companies have obligations to allow consumers to opt in. So in some geographies, the presentation of this web page would be on prohibit. If a consumer in that geography then wanted analytics and marketing cookies to be obtained, they would then select allow. And we'll see that throughout. Right? Essential cookies is always on, but for other cookies, let's see. Interesting. So as far as I'm concerned, the only cookies associated with the BMW group is analytics and marketing cookies. We haven't seen personalization or functionality cookies. We've only seen analytics and marketing. So I'm actually going to prohibit it. So according to this website, the only cookies collected are essential cookies and analytics and marketing cookies. Open cookies and options in detail. So let's accept the selected. Okay, so my settings have been saved for that. Let's go to the actual cookie policy itself. Responsible as defined by data protection law. So the responsible party is BMW AG, and you might be wondering why it's important to identify this information. If a consumer of the BMW group ever wanted to exercise any of their rights or make a complaint or obtain additional information on how cookies are used or processed, then this would be the responsible party. For large organizations like BMW, they generally have many affiliates and, subsidiaries. There's a numerous amount of ways in which organizations will create an entity in a specific country. And we can see here that this is BMW Group, right? If there's an entity in Europe that has BMW Europe, for example, then that may be the responsible party under the data protection law. If you're a European Union resident, you would contact BMW Europe as opposed to BMW AG, which may be applicable in the United States. So I hope that makes sense. I don't know that for a fact. We're just looking at this as a consumer from a consumer perspective, but I think it's really useful for organizations to know they need to identify who's responsible because of the reasons I mentioned before. In the following paragraphs, we'll explain our purposes for using cookies and similar technologies on our websites. We also offer you the opportunity to modify your consent to our use or to revoke your consent at any time. This is really essential. Consent. There's many different factors of what constitutes consent in a data protection standpoint. There's different factors in different geographies, but essentially consent must be freely given. It must be unambiguous. It should be easy to withdraw consent as it is to give consent, and other factors included in what constitutes consent. But essentially, it's really important for organizations to give consumers the opportunity to withdraw their consent at any time because it's a requirement in order for true consent to be given. Now, there are instances and nuances to this definition of consent, which you can talk to with your privacy lawyer. But what is traditionally considered consent is not what is considered consent under the data protection law. Companies need to be very aware of that. Do not use language in your public-facing documents that you don't have the understanding of what it constitutes without understanding the laws and reaching out to your privacy counsel first. The dictionary definition of consent is not the data privacy definition of consent. So don't make any representations on your site without truly understanding this provision. Cookies and web storage technologies, etc. Purposes. So purpose is very important in data protection sphere. Cookies take care of many different tasks. So here are the purposes. Provide you with the services of your preferences at all time. Present you with specific and relevant information. Offer you a seamless and comfortable online experience. Now, this is very interesting to me because we haven't explicitly talked about the input that the retargeting cookies makes in the purpose. We can see here analytic and marketing cookies are used, right? Present you with relevant advertisements, prevent you from repeatedly being exposed to some of the same advertisements. I would say that the definition provided above there isn't necessarily captured in the purpose of the cookies. These are very generic statements, and I feel like there should be more specificity given that analytics and marketing cookies are being utilized and they do assist BMW Group and are a purpose of using the cookies, right? It should be explicit here. Present you with options related to marketing and advertising. That should form part of this purpose. From a transparency perspective, this is just generic and could use some tailoring. Okay. Our website may use cookies for retargeting purposes. This means that cookies store information from your browsing history to track your interest in activity on the webs. This helps us or our advertising partners to present you with this stuff. So in some geographies, when it comes to advertising, there must be the opportunity to opt in to advertising. Now, I don't know every single geography for the BMW Group. Let me take a look at the bottom. Okay, they didn't provide an address, but I presume this is the United States. Let's look at the imprint. That will give us the address. Okay, interesting. So domicile and court of registry, I think this is Germany. Okay, yeah, this looks like Germany. The website is maintained in Germany. Okay, the reason I took a look at that is because I'm quite intrigued about this cookie banner, and I'm quite intrigued about the layout for providing insight about cookies by the BMW Group, given that they are maintained, or this organization is maintained in Germany. Germany is part of the European Union. There is a very specific manner in which the cookie flow should look in the European Union based on obligations under data protection laws, and I don't know if that's reflected in this cookie policy. In addition to that, I didn't see the last time this was updated. That's quite intriguing to me, given that the data protection laws in the European Union are one of the most restrictive data protection laws globally, and this is why it's so unique to be able to review how different companies are complying with the data protection laws, and also drawing awareness to how companies need to roll out their privacy program with the assistance of a privacy lawyer. So I think that there is some insights related to cookies that are useful. I also think it's useful to have the modifications area presented at the beginning of the page. So that's really useful. I think that there needs to be some consistency in terms of the analytics and marketing cookies and the representations in the actual policy itself. The flow for being able to understand this cookie policy could use a little bit of tweaking. Given that the consumers here are buying cars, I've mentioned this in other reviews that I've done on my channel, but essentially making sure that you understand who your target market is and who you're presenting this to. I think that there could be some updates, but the fact that the cookies are being recognized, that they're being collected, the fact that there's modifications that can be made as we jump onto this page are really good things as well. So if your organization is looking for assistance in cookie compliance, take a look at my description below, and I would love to work with your organization. I'll see you in another review.